back, y'all.
Episode 9.
Episode 9. Shop Talk.
9, baby.
We got
Shop
the
Talk.
mugs.
Oh, peep the mugs.
Look.
We got the mugs. I gotta take a sippy sip.
Yes, sir. Me too. Let's see.
Shout out to Kevin for the mugs.
Kevin Camisa, right?
Yes, Kevin Camisa. That's my boy, Kevin Camisa. Him and his lady, they're going to be blessing us with some merch. We got stickers already. Shout out to Bacardi on that one. We told you last time, little by little, you're gonna see some upgrades here and there. We want to thank you guys for sticking with us. This is episode 9. So you see we switched locations, and last time was the first episode where we had this spot and we had a mini fridge plugged in. I just want to give you guys, we had a mini fridge plugged in and kicked on, but this is one of the things that we're learning,
right,
you know.
Absolutely.
We got to be aware of our surroundings, and I heard it kick on and I was like, oh my god, that's in the background. You're not gonna see because we're gonna cut into it where I'll be like, oh please someone unplug that.
we
shout out to Liv, she unplugged it.
Yes, sir.
We got a pretty cool episode for you guys today, man.
Absolutely.
We got a gentleman by the name of Jason Ambrosino. Mr. Ambrosino, the reason why he's a guest today is because he was getting his hair cut and I overheard him, and me as the owner of the establishment, right, you always got to be aware of what the conversations are like, and this guy said something about he owns a dispensary, and from what I hear, this place is really nice,
right?
Yeah, because I was mentioning that he was going to be a guest and they were like, oh, he owns that spot. That spot is beautiful. They have everything laid out so organized. And
is it in Broadalbin?
It's in Broadalbin, New York.
Right.
Yes. We'll drop the address for you guys so you guys can find it. And he also runs a manufacturing processing center for marijuana.
Wow.
This is an industry that just became legal in New York State.
So it's brand new.
It's brand new. You know, a lot of us have always looked at weed like something that needed to be hidden, like a taboo, and people really would not want to associate with you if they found out that you would smoke weed or and totally understandable, but now it's legal.
Right.
So is it still taboo?
I don't know.
I'll tell you right now, I'm gonna blow up my mother's spot. Mommy, I'm sorry, but my mother's a avid marijuana smoker. She likes it.
Right.
She has liked it for a long time. She still is nervous about it. She's like, my God, but what if they...
Right, but she comes from the old school, man. So, they have some type of dignity in a way. These young kids...
It's like a little respect.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
these young kids will smoke anywhere.
Dude, you're right, because I've had people smoking in front of my doors. And it's like, yo, I know it's legal.
But come on.
But we got little kids and sometimes families walking in through the doors. Even walking through cigarette smoke is uncomfortable. I just think that let's be mindful, guys. We know it's legal in New York State. Have your fun, smoke.
But show respect, too. Show respect, man.
In front of a business, come on.
Businesses, family, school.
Yeah, we got kids coming in here.
Absolutely.
Although it's legal, it's just cool to be a positive role model for the youth. And if you see them coming in, let's do the right thing. For the most part, we never have an issue here. I'm very blessed to have some awesome clients, awesome community. We're a simple, can you guys just move a little bit to the right a little bit? I'm sorry, man, we got the doorway here. And oh, sorry about that. And for the most part, no problem.
That's right.
People still look at it as a little bit of a taboo. Like, this guy's smoking marijuana. Or this guy. What I also noticed is that I'm getting clients, older clients that would once shy away from it or say no to it. They're open-minded because of the medicinal
purposes,
aspect of it,
absolutely.
Because and although I don't know all the medicinal benefits of it, but I know and I've read and I've seen certain little things that this thing is pretty helpful for people.
Right. It helps a lot for certain things, man.
And there's also too much, right?
Right.
Because too much is too much, right? I mean, it depends what your goal is, everyday users. What are you smoking marijuana for?
Right.
It might be just to feel calm, to start your day, and in your routine type of way. Some people definitely use it to calm down before they go into a place with a bunch of people. They might need to indulge in some marijuana to get them through that event.
Absolutely.
I have smoked with my mom. She's a champ. She hits me up and she's like, Michael, can you find me something? Can you call one of your friends? And I'll be like... I'd be like, Ma, I could send a text message. I don't know. Let me see what I gonna do. It's always a good time, and we'll hang out, have barbecue. And, you know, everybody's running around, having a good time, music. Today, we're gonna talk to Jay about how he feels about this whole change. This is like a 180 from what it was. If you get it from Jason, it almost, you know how like you buy something that got the nutritional facts.
Right.
You know, let you know.
Because it has to go through regulations. It has to go through...
It's tested.
Yes, exactly.
It's regulated.
There was cases in Troy, which is not too far from here, where people were lacing the weed with fentanyl, and they were selling it to people, and a lot of people were getting sick and overdosing. Yeah.
In Troy?
In Troy.
Now, let me ask you this. Are you buying beer from your neighbor? No, you go into the store.
That's right.
You know, it's kind of the same thing. It's reached the point where it's too scary to just get it from whoever. Yeah. And it's legal.
There goes our guest now.
Right now. There he comes, Mr. Ambrosino. How you doing?
Hey.
How you doing? Come on over.
Make yourself at home.
He brought some goodies.
All right.
Look at this. Huh?
Look at that. He came prepared.
Look at this. We're going to show some of this stuff off.
Absolutely.
Welcome to Shop Talk.
Thank you.
This is my friend Bacardi.
Pleasure to meet you.
Mr. Ambrosino.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for having me.
Yes, sir. Let's give him a round of applause, guys.
Yes, sir. Yes. You got some water right there if you do get thirsty. That's a new mug.
That's great.
Yeah. Today we have Jason Ambrosino. Am I saying that correct?
Yeah.
All I really know is that the stuff that I've been eavesdropping from when you were getting your hair cut. I just want to make sure that I'm accurate. Introduce yourself. What is it exactly that you are a pro at?
So I'm, like you said, Jason Ambrosino, and to cut right to it, I process and manufacture marijuana products for the adult use market in New York State.
You have been in this industry for how long? I have to ask that question for Ryan. Ryan, I told you I was going to ask him.
I got out of the Army in 2014. I retired from the Army.
Thank you for your service.
I appreciate it. So I was in there for 10 years. You know, I had gotten hurt. I was an officer in the Army, got out, went to work for my parents' company, which was electrical construction. Wasn't really for me, but more so, I just wasn't very productive. And it had a lot to do with all the medications and things that the VA had me on.
Right.
And, you know, I felt really bad about getting to work late and just kind of like being out of it all day. And I knew that it was like a charity job at that point, right? Yeah. That's not going to work for me.
Right.
So I kind of looked at what I could do, and the last job I had in the Army was procurement and logistics. That's what I did. I created a procurement logistics company. But in the process of doing that, I recognized that I was going to have to change some things. Some of those things that I was going to have to change were the things that was kind of holding me back, which at the time was the medications that the VA was prescribing. Medications that the Army continued, actually.
Absolutely.
I would say that the end of the last 6 months to the year of my career, where I really kind of like struggled with getting to work and things like that, was all because of the medications that they were prescribing me. Looking back, I see how they did it to a lot of soldiers, you know, and that's how they just finally push you out all the ways. He's always got to be on medications. Well, you put me on that. You didn't help me recover at all.
This is something that you were conscious of.
Yeah.
You knew that this medication was stopping you from,
And I stayed away from all the behavioral health medications. It was really interesting, you know. If you're a combat veteran, especially if you're in a combat arm, you're going to have PTSD.
Right.
There's just no way around it.
Absolutely.
You know, if you deployed to an actual combat zone and there was fighting, there's just certain things that the human psyche has trouble figuring out.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't get better with time, it gets worse. So, you know, you end up needing treatment. You got to go and you got to do something, whether you're talking with other people, you know, you're going and you're getting talk therapy from the VA, which is always kind of what we're told to do when we get out. So I was rated for PTSD from the VA. It's one of my, you know, I'm 100% service disabled vet. I had their talk there, psychotherapy for like 2 years. And then one day the woman says to me, and she's a student, now she's got to get back to school because the VA can't afford full-on therapist. And she's going back to school and she's, you're cured.
Really?
Oh, I am.
Just like
and what was funny is like through this whole entire time, there was like these times where you had to go meet with the psychiatrist. And the psychiatrist doesn't actually do anything for you except for prescribe medication. And that's all why I was coming to this, is that's all the psychiatrists want to do, is they want to shove the medication down your throat. Nobody wants to fix the underlying problem. And that's when I started, and I read this book called, I'll have to give it to you, you can drop it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so the basis of this book, it was exploring comparing drug use and the legalities of drug use versus the legalities in all of these medical uses that we completely ignored, not only with cannabis, but with all psychedelics.
Right.
You know, MDMA,
right.
which now they're doing tremendous numbers of trials to bring it back, like MDMA and LSD, mushrooms, ketamine, all these different psychedelics that at the time were not being explored for what they could be used for.
Right.
I read this book and I was like, well, they cited 2 studies from that were sponsored by the federal government. Both of them had to do with MDMA.
Right.
And the first one came to the conclusion that MDA leaves holes in your brain. If you grew up in the 90s, you remember hearing this.
Yes.
Well, the reality was they figured out 2 years later it was fractals in the image that they were looking at. Now they put this out across the world.
Right.
Policies changed because of it.
Right.
All they did was retract it in some scientific journals and never talk about it again.
Wow.
So they get same scientists,
Yes.
right? Gets more money to do another study. And this is where they come to the conclusion that MDMA leads to a permanent depletion of your dopamine and serotonin receptors, right? That's the conclusion they came to after the study. 2 years later, what they found out, because Normal got involved and said, listen, your research doesn't look like ours. And they went back and they said, oh, we made a huge mistake. We injected the monkeys with crystal meth instead of MDMA. Listen, these are your FDA studies, right?
Right.
You can't trust any of it.
You can't.
Once you come to the realization that everything that you've ever been told is a lie, it makes it a lot easier to start approaching things that you never knew would work.
Right.
And for me at the time, it was cannabis.
Okay.
I started taking marijuana, a lot of CBD products as well. So they were almost like a dissociative at that point in time. When you take them, a lot of them. No, I got rid of my, stopped taking my medicine.
Yeah.
And I started just using cannabis almost exclusively.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I went through some significant psychedelic trips to get where I needed to be, but cannabis was the maintaining fact, and it was making it so that I could actually like function, like my body moved. You know, that's the other parts of the disability. I have problems with my neck and you know, dual radiculopathy, and that's what that was all about, was making sure that I could move and sleep and function, and I did it. And that's what cannabis gave back to me. So it was like, how is this substance that's so amazing and so powerful something that's been kept under the covers for so long, and who's responsible and who's going to be held accountable for 40 years of lies? Right. All these things go through your mind. And at that point in time, the law did no longer matter to me.
Right.
Because if a law is inherently designed to hurt the public and the population, then why should we follow it anyway?
Absolutely.
It's not a just law. I'll ask for the trial by jury.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll let a jury decide.
That's a great freaking
Absolutely.
point right there, bro.
At that point in time, there was no more moral, ethical. It was immoral not to research this and work on this. And that's where I started learning everything. That's where I started learning about extraction, learning how to do what I needed to do to get the plant to where I want it to be. Because I'm just like everybody else at the time, right? I don't have access to all weed all over the place. And doing a little grow over here, trying to make it last as far as I could. Then you start learning how and doing it well. Right. And then you start meeting people, and then before you know it, pushing weed over here, you're pushing it over here, you're pushing it over there. Right. You know, if you're a good businessman, it's just like any other business. The business will grow, people will appreciate what you've brought. You know, in 2018, the Farm Bill passed, and that to me was this big fat open window for access. Right. And it didn't matter that it was hooked to the hemp. It was very clear to me at the time that it was just the cover for everything, which is exactly what it's turned into, right?
Yes.
So that's what it was, and I saw it for what it was. You know, that's basically how I got into all this, and then from 2018 to where we are now, it's just been a shotgun blast. Like, it's just been so fast.
Wow.
Right.
Because we were involved in the hemp, New York State is a really funky state because it's the illusion of inclusion state is what I like to call it, right? Like, everything that New York State does is an illusion. It's to trick you, the voter, into thinking that they're doing something when they're actually not really doing anything at all, or they're slowly moving the pieces to benefit their friends. Saw that a lot with Governor Cuomo's administration, especially with the hemp stuff, because what we saw was a program that started in 2016, really shady issuance of a lot of the six, I think there was 8, the 8 processing licenses in the entire state for hemp, right? And New York State tried to create this ecosystem where, like, you weren't going to be able to bring products in, and so, like, it was all about serving these 6 processors, and there was going to be a gold mine and everything else. And it wasn't until New York State realized with the rest of the world that it's a commodity, and when everybody can produce it freely, it brings the price down to a place where the people can actually afford to use it at potencies that is effective, right? And that's kind of what we saw happen. And a lot of people failed in the initial because there was not enough, they just didn't plan their businesses properly. So you have these companies, like, got these grants, these 6 processors, and they had these huge debts and huge factories and all this stuff, and It just didn't work out for them at the end of the day. But New York State was still protecting that processor license. Initially, we were like, well, how are we going to do this? How are we going to start touching product? And we found a loophole in the law. And basically, it said we couldn't process the product. In their definition of process, concentrating trichomes. And that was done either through ethanol at the time or CO2. That's all it was defined as. So everything else under the sun you could do. And you could go out of the state and you could buy material and bring it in. It was, it was the wild, wild west. But New York State didn't see that for some reason.
Okay.
So we got in there and we start processing, manufacturing, become pretty well known with the Broadalbin community. That's actually all of Fulton County, really. I think.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about
Veterans Market.
Oh, the one by next to Dollar General.
Yeah. We
I've been there. My wife's been there.
We let the sign fade away because it was like we were doing all of the rec stuff there now.
One of my clients said he went there and he was very impressed.
It's a nice place. It's a really nice place.
He said he was I haven't yet to go there, but I'm going to go there. We're going to drop the address and everything for you.
I believe your wife was there one time and she helped out and she was really nice.
It's not what it used to be because New York State took away our ability to sell so many of the products we're selling because it's a protectionist state, and rather than do things that are legal, they do things to protect markets that they've created. A lot of the products we can't sell anymore, but all of the health and wellness products, we still have them. I think we have some of the best ones in the community, quite frankly, and you can trust them.
And that's what we were talking about.
We were talking about that prior to him coming in.
The trust. Why would you consider going to your neighbor
or someone you don't know?
You can go to someone that actually takes this industry serious.
Yes.
I've noticed some older clients. They're
they're
asking for it. They're like, hey, I wish something would pop up around here. It'd be nice to get to it local. But one of the gentlemen that I'm talking about, he's like almost 70 and he loves your store. Let's talk about what you brought, because my man Mr. Ambrosino brought some stuff.
Box of goodies.
Let's talk about what do we have here?
The first thing I hear is a partner company of ours called American Classic Hash. These guys originally got their start in Washington. They joined the New York marketplace. They're under our license right now, but they're fantastic, amazing hash makers. So what we have here is we have some of their hash, and you can open this up if you'd like to take a look or take a sniff. And then I have 3 super dank donut rolls, basically, and their hash rosin in the center with some really dank flour packed around. Break one open and smoke one while we're talking here.
Look at that.
And then these are some of our edibles. We think we have some of the better edibles in the industry. They're made from fruit juice and pectin. We run the Broadalbin facility as an edible lab, and then our facility here in Gloversville kind of does everything else. One of the big things that we do, or we're trying to do, is be there for legacy companies.
I'm vegan, so that's great. I'm sorry.
Well, legacy operators, let's say, that want access to the legal marketplace. Outside of the rec world, there's very little money in cannabis anymore. But where there is still some money to be made is with the craft edible makers. And we found a really good one here. The brand is Queen Bee. This is local. That's early packaging. That's always what we do when we want to launch something quick. We don't wait for the packaging to be perfect.
So this is milk chocolate.
Yeah, that's 100 milligrams.
Wow.
Our Space Buds Moon Rocks. These are I gave you guys a couple packs here. So there's 70% THC in this right here.
Wow.
It's like almost 80% total cannabinoids. That's one of the best-selling products in the New York State market right now. So right now we have the number 5 and number 7 ranked best-selling flower product, and that's our blueberry muffin.
Wow, look at that.
So this is some more products from American Hash Makers. This is their rosin. They're amazing rosin makers. It's really what they're really, really good at.
For the people who don't know, the novices out there, what is rosin?
Rosin is a solventless concentrate, and you can make rosin a couple different ways, but at the end of the day, rosin comes from trichomes that have been concentrated in a mechanical way. So that could be bubble hash, which means that we've used water to concentrate the trichome heads. It could be sift, which means that we've used vibration and friction and sieve screens. Or it could be just the flour that's been pressed directly, like really dank flour. You can get some pretty decent flour rosin from. Rosin opposed to resin, where resin is almost exclusively from a solvent.
It's like waxy, right? Is it
So essentially what you're looking at is you make really nice bubble hash. Right, so you're getting bubble hash that's already coming back at 50-60%. I mean, even the lower grade bubble hash would still be productive. Then you take your bubble hash and you put it in a bag. It's dry, obviously, at that point in time.
Show you guys
powdered.
that
You basically press it with 2 hot plates. That's and a lot of pressure. These are some blunts that we haven't launched yet. If you're familiar at all with the Tyson line of flower products, he has some wraps that everyone seems to love.
Right.
Those wraps are actually, they're from a company called Futurola, who we've been dealing with for a long time. We use all their equipment.
Right.
This is a cone made out of that same wrap. So these are, those, we call them tea leaf blunts. What's inside this tea leaf blunt is a local farmer's product right here in Gloversville. So this is his material, and you know, we ground it all up, and then with all the trim, this was fresh frozen to begin with.
Right.
We trimmed it frozen. We took all that fresh frozen and we made bubble hash from it. And then we took the flour that was still nice, chunky nug structure. We freeze dried all that, and that's kind of an advanced method. Yeah.
Yo, that's high tech.
That is crazy.
So we freeze dried all of that, so it looked beautiful, and then we ground it all up and we mixed it together with the hash, and that's what we have here.
That is awesome.
These are our carts. These are really popular all throughout New York State. This is the New York honey cart.
Right.
New York honey.
Best price.
This is your stuff right here.
Yeah.
You see this, pick this up. You're going to want this.
Yes, look at that.
I'm showing you, but I'm reading the back of it. You're going to want this.
Wow.
It's patriotic, too. You always seem like you're paying homage to the military. You're paying homage to someone that
I think I'm paying homage to the people that it sacrificed to be in the military.
Absolutely.
It's not about the military, and it's definitely not about the state in any form or whatsoever. It's about the people, 100%.
Wow. That's right.
And especially when it comes to veterans, they just haven't gotten their due.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Wow. Not all heroes wear capes. Remember, some of them grow weed.
That's right. And he's still wearing a cape doing that, I tell you that.
Man, wow. Yeah. What kind of present day challenges are you faced with?
Well, I mean, there's business level problems, and there's personal level problems, and there's personal level problems that become business problems. And when it comes to the business side of it, you have to be somewhat fluid and flexible in a nascent industry that, according to the federal government, is still a Schedule I drug, which makes me federally a criminal. That's number one, right? You have to rectify the fact that you're a criminal according to the federal government. A lot of banks will never touch your money. I can't go to any of the big mutual fund firms. They won't touch my money. It's still dirty to them. They don't have any problems collecting the taxes from the money.
Of course, that they
don't have any problem taking that money and putting it into their pension funds.
That's right.
But apparently when I do it, there's a problem with it. So,
I mean, he started it off deep. He said, I mean, there's business problems, there's personal problems, and there's personal problems that turn to business problems.
That's right.
I had to rewind that in my head, yo.
So the business problems you can never get away with. It's the industry we decided to be in, and there's always going to be problems when it comes to that, especially in New York State. By hands down, one of the most corrupt states in the country. I've been dealing with New York State procurement with large contracts for several years now, and I've turned in more than one bid rigging scheme, and they all seem to disappear. So I know what New York does. There's no surprise. If you know what you're getting into from the get-go, you shouldn't be surprised. You know? Then there's the personal side of things where, you know, you've got people that you used to deal with, or people that you tried to get something going with, or friendships that you built. For one reason or another, that person always thinks you owe them something. Right? And when you don't want to give them what they think you owe them, they have no problem taking your name and dragging it through the mud. They try to tear you down. They try to tear your business down. They do whatever thing they can do to hurt you. We call them haters. Right? That's what we call them at the end of the day.
Someone that you may have helped at one point.
Of course.
But you know what? It'll never be looked at like that. By that person or anybody that person's friends with, they'll never give you an opportunity to say your piece. It's not important. Their story is the only story that matters. We have to purge those people from our lives.
That's it.
Man, let me tell you something. I gotta say, you sound real educated. Like, I'm serious, man. Like, the way you talk, it's like there's no hesitation. Because
he knows his stuff.
No It's like, what is your education?
It's extensive.
It's extensive. Okay, so my boy is educated. We're not dealing with no dummy, guys. Took control of his life. He said, nah, I know what I want to do because I know what helps me. But not only that, he's using that to help others.
Right, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Yo, I got chills. Man. Where do you see yourself in the next couple years, 2 to 5 years? Where do you see yourself?
I try to look at everything in 5-year increments, and this is a great message to anybody who's interested in starting a business or really doing anything. If you're trying to better your life, I find that a lot of times we're very impatient. And we don't give ourselves nearly enough time for something to develop, and in the process of being impatient, we miss all these signs and we miss all these targets, these off ramps to opportunity, because we're so hyper focused on what we want and we want it now that we miss all this other stuff that's that's going on around us.
Right.
So if you step back, zoom out, and you take a look down and you look at this 5-year pathway and you just talk your way through that 5-year plan from the get-go, you don't have to even remember it again, right? It's in your subconscious. You're going to work towards it. That's it. You know you got to work towards it.
Yeah.
And I've proved it because I got out of the Army. It took about 5 years of me running American Veteran Enterprise Team. COVID came around and we got our first major, massive contract. Made my first $1 million right there on that contract.
Awesome.
Wow.
It wasn't 30 days later that I made one of the worst deals I ever made in my life, buying nitrile gloves from a company in multiple nations. But that's what was going on when COVID was happening.
Yes.
I lost $1.4 million because I bought products that never arrived. Then I spent $250,000 on lawyers chasing these people all over the world, only to realize I was just wasting my money. Federal government doesn't come to your help.
Of course.
The state doesn't come to your help. People tell you it's a civil issue and there's nothing they can do to help you. It doesn't matter. You're out on your own. If someone steals from you, you're screwed because there's very, very little chance you're ever going to get any of it back. So there's two things that you can do. Three things, really. And we've seen what some of them are, right? People lose $1 million on Wall Street, they climb out the window and they jump out, right? I think one of the things that helped me is I like to say I was the shortest millionaire ever. Because, like, it was gone. Never even saw it. My lifestyle didn't change.
Broke a record.
But the next thing that people do is they bury themselves. They get depressed. Woe is me. I can't believe whatever. And then they get stuck. And that's where they stay. And that's where they die. Eventually, 30 years later, 40 years later, always thinking about that one moment. Or you can say I did it once.
That's it.
Obviously, I know how.
Do it again.
And you put your head down,
Right.
and 5 years goes by, and look what we've got now. We've got a very successful company that I can tell you that I have no doubt in my mind has exceeded what the previous company was capable of.
Wow.
And to answer your question, 5 years from now, I'm seeing an exit. There's no reason to hold on to what you do forever. Right? There's too many things in your lifetime that you want an opportunity to participate in and do. If you have an opportunity to exit from something that you built and it can generate you enough money for it to make sense to do, then do it. And then go do something else. If you really feel like you need to come back to it 5 years later, then do it. I mean, how easy is that?
That's awesome. That's so freaking awesome. Can we give him a round of applause?
Yes, absolutely. That's some great advice.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's someone out there right now listening. There's someone out there watching.
Right.
He feels the energy that I feel radiating off you, and he's like this, listening to this. And he's like, man, I want to do this.
Right.
How can I do this? What could you tell that young man or woman?
Well, you missed the application process for this year.
Okay.
You missed.
You missed it. It actually closed at the end of December. So micro businesses, grows, all those, they're getting ready to be, issued. But you don't become a business owner immediately right off the bat. And that's a lot of the mistakes that I'm seeing people make right now. Is I know a lot of people who put in for a license that aren't in the position to carry that license out. And just because you can be awarded something doesn't necessarily mean you're going to know how to run it. You're going to be able to get the money, right? There's even the micro businesses, which is the most basic business model that really you can get because it's vertically integrated, meaning you can sell your own stuff. You still got to follow all those regulations, right? It's super expensive. It's 3,500 square foot grow. That means you're going to need at least $200,000 for lights.
Right.
You're going to have to be able to spend $15,000 to $20,000 a month on electricity. And oh, by the way, National Grid's going to make you prepay because you don't have a corporate account for how many every years, right? You're going to have to pay thousands of dollars for your GMP certification every year. You're going to have to pay $20,000 a year for your insurance, all while being capped on how much you can grow. So let me see your business plan. And that's the problem because most of these guys, they don't have one. They said, I grew weed in my basement. I had a decent market going. I made $20,000 or $30,000 a year. I can do this. The problem is the way the regulations are written, it doesn't give you the opportunity to start this tiny little business. It might not need a tremendous amount of cash flow because you can do all this work yourself. By the time you get done paying all of those bills, you're going to be so far in the hole, it's not even going to be funny. Now, if you can go through and you can get investors and nobody else to come on, then you can displace some of that risk. But, I mean, it's incredibly risky, I think, at the micro business level especially. So to get into this, I would say start small, find a company, call them, and offer to be an intern. If you are a worthy employee and you work for free for a week and you bust your ass and you make it look, you look indispensable, you're going to get a job offer. And you're going to get a decent job offer because good help is hard to find. So finding somebody who is interested in what they're doing, is trying to move up the ladder of that, is willing to bust their ass, especially if they're willing to bust their ass for the first couple of weeks, right?
Yeah,
for free,
exactly.
Then you're going to get that offer. Yeah, so I think that's probably the easiest way to get into this industry.
Right.
If you're interested in growing, there's a whole lot of micro businesses that are apparently going to be opening that I'm sure have no idea how hard it is to grow 3,500 square feet. So this is actually a perfect time. If you are a commercial grower, you have that knowledge, and these people can't pay you your salary, but you want in. This is your opportunity to actually use those skills and try to negotiate for that market share. So you can go to somebody who's a micro business and say, look, son, I know it's you, your wife, and your 2 kids, right? There's no way you're going to be able to operate this. If you're an electrician and you want to get in, you got a service that these guys are going to have to pay for.
Absolutely.
They're not going to be able to afford it. It's going to be the most expensive service they have. If you want equity and you want ownership, what an opportunity to trade some of your services for it. It's all. That's what the name of the game is right now is, can I trade services or product for some sort of market share? LED lighting is a perfect example. None of these guys, or a lot of these guys, aren't going to be able to spend the $200,000 to $250,000 on the lights. So if I'm an electrical construction company and I've got a little bit of money set aside and I can create a business where I can offer light as a service, so instead of you paying for your lights outright, right? I'm going to create a lease agreement with you, and you're going to lease the lights at a monthly amount from me. And oh, by the way, you have your cannabis as collateral. Never mind, the lights are there that can always be repossessed, right? So the risk is certainly very low for you.
Right.
All of those business opportunities are right there. There's so many out there right now. I mean, the cannabis industry needs everything. It needs everything. It needs plumbers. It needs electricians. It needs everything.
Yeah.
Wow. It's new. It has nobody.
Right.
He's got goals.
Yeah.
5-year increment goals. And man, it's a very motivating. I heard him say that. I got chills because I'm like, man, 5 years, I would like to walk away from this. I would have done enough to have been like, I'm leaving.
Right.
You guys are good now.
Right.
Monumental. Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Ambrosino.
You're welcome.
Man, I feel
pleasure.
Like, first of all, I didn't know he was bringing us goodies. I thought he was just showing us some stuff. Shout out to Jason for that.
Yes.
We gotta be sure to check out and support the Veterans Hemp Market in Broadalbin.
Check out our website, veteranschoicecreations.com.
There you go, guys.
We're gonna say it again.
veteranschoicecreations.com.
veteranschoicecreations.com.
And we'll put the link in the description to his
have the
website
link.
as well.
You'll be able to click right on that.
Yes.
Thank you for blessing us with your time. I know you're a busy individual.
Right.
You still came out here on a Saturday.
Yes.
He came out here on a Saturday,
and
man.
gave us a lot of knowledge in this industry as well.
Man,
yeah.
Because we had some questions. I know I knew a little bit just from overhearing you talk.
But he knows a lot.
I mean, about like him and his industry. I didn't want to like say the wrong thing before you got here. So I was like, you know what? That's a good question to ask him when he gets here. So you really shed light on a lot of what we had.
Good.
And I hope that you guys are all tuning in.
Yes.
Follow this man. Look for his social media pages.
Yes.
Let's support local.
That's
My
right.
man is serious business. He's taking this endeavor very serious.
Yes.
This concludes episode 9. I appreciate the
Shop Talk.
journey.
Thank you for tuning in.
Joining us in this journey.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning in.
And we had a great guest today too as well.
We had a great
Thanks for
guest,
Absolutely.
man.
Thank you. You're very welcome.
Yes, thank you.
And you're more than welcome to come back anytime.
I'll see you guys in episode 10.
Absolutely. See you guys later.
All right, take care.